Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a question. Have you ever stood at a crossroads in life, not a physical one, but the kind where your heart whispers one direction, while fear pulls you the other way? Have you ever wondered, is my future already written, or do I hold the pen? Tonight, I want to tell you a story. Not a fairy tale, not a script from a movie, but a story that lives inside all of us. A story about choice, about kindness, about courage, and above all, about creating your own future. The Boy on the Bench. I once met a young man, let's call him Daniel. I saw him sitting on a park bench late one autumn evening. His shoulders slouched, his eyes empty, his hands fidgeting with a crumpled job rejection letter. Daniel had been told his whole life that he was destined for failure. "You're not smart enough," his teachers had said. "You're not talented enough," his classmates mocked. "You'll never make it," his own father whispered when disappointment weighed too heavy. And so there he sat, 23 years old, no money in his pockets, no degree in his hands, no direction in his heart. He looked at me and asked, almost in a broken whisper, "Do you think people like me ever really have a future?" I could have told him the easy answer, the polite answer, but instead I told him the truth. I leaned forward and said, "Daniel, the future doesn't arrive ready-made. It's not delivered to your doorstep like a package. You build it. You craft it. You create it, day by day, choice by choice, act by act. You make your own future. The turning point." He laughed bitterly. "But how? I have nothing." I asked him, "Do you have kindness?" Confused, he nodded slowly. "Do you have time?" "Yes," he said. "Do you have a heart that beats inside you?" "Yes." "Then, my friend, you have everything you need to begin." And that was the moment. The seed was planted. A life doesn't change overnight, but it can shift in a single heartbeat, in a single realization. The smallest acts create the largest ripples. Daniel didn't find a miracle job the next day. He didn't suddenly win the lottery or stumble into fame. But he decided, just once, to act differently. The next morning, he walked into a local shelter and asked if they needed help. They handed him an apron and said, "We're short-staffed in the kitchen." For hours, he chopped onions, stirred soup, and handed plates to strangers. He thought nobody noticed. But someone did. An elderly man at the shelter looked him in the eye and said, "Young man, you've given me more than food today. You've given me dignity." And for the first time in his life, Daniel felt something no paycheck had ever given him: purpose. That night, he wrote in his journal, "Maybe my future begins not with what I take, but with what I give." The unexpected path. Weeks passed. Daniel kept showing up at the shelter. Then, one day, a woman named Grace, who volunteered there too, asked him about his story. He hesitated, ashamed of his failures. But instead of judging, she listened. She encouraged. She told him she believed in him. And that belief sparked something powerful. Grace introduced him to a friend who owned a small catering business. At first, Daniel was only washing dishes. But he worked hard, he stayed kind, and slowly, opportunities opened. He learned cooking, then management, then leadership. Years later, Daniel owned his own restaurant. But not just any restaurant, one where a portion of every meal went to feeding the homeless. The boy who once asked, "Do I even have a future?" was now creating not only his own, but shaping the future of countless others. The deeper message. Why do I tell you Daniel's story? Because many of you listening today might feel the same despair he once felt. Maybe you're sitting on your own park bench, holding your own rejection letter, whether it's from a job, a relationship, or even from life itself. And I want you to hear me. Your future is not defined by your circumstances. Your future is defined by your choices. It doesn't matter if you come from poverty or privilege, from a broken home or a supportive one, from failure or from fame. The truth remains, you make your own future. The unexpected realization. But let me be clear, making your own future doesn't always mean chasing wealth, or titles, or fame. Sometimes, it means choosing kindness when anger would be easier. Sometimes, it means giving when you feel you have nothing left. Sometimes, it means believing in yourself when no one else dares to. The world often tells us that success is measured in bank accounts, cars, or houses. But let me tell you a secret, the greatest future you can make is one where your life touches others. Because here's the paradox, when you lift someone else, you rise too. When you feed someone hungry, your soul is fed. When you create hope for another, your own future shines brighter. The emotional climax. Let me return to Daniel, one last time. One bitter winter evening, a young homeless boy walked into his restaurant, shivering, no money in his hands. The staff hesitated, but Daniel walked over, smiled, and served him a warm plate of food. That boy's eyes lit up with gratitude. As he ate, he whispered, "Sir, when I grow up, I want to be like you." And Daniel, the boy who once thought he had no future, broke down in tears. Because in that moment, he realized the truth, he had created not only his own future, but had planted the seed of a better future in someone else. The call to you. So now, I turn the story back to you. What park bench are you sitting on today? What rejection letter weighs heavy in your hand? What lies have you believed about your worth? I urge you, don't wait for the future to arrive. Don't sit hoping for luck, or for someone else to hand it to you. Pick up the pen. Write the story. Take the step. And remember, the first step doesn't have to be grand. It can be as small as an act of kindness, a moment of self-belief, a single choice to rise instead of surrender. Because life is not about what is given to you. It's about what you create with what you have. The final words. My friends, if there's one truth I want you to carry home tonight, it is this. Your future is not waiting somewhere out there. Your future is waiting inside you. And every act of courage, every act of compassion, every act of faith you take, builds it, brick by brick, day by day. So when the world tells you, you can't, whisper back, watch me. When doubt says, you're not enough, declare, I am becoming. And when fear says, the future is uncertain, smile and reply, good. Because that means it's mine to create. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is not written. The future is made. And it is yours to make. Thank you.